As we continue to follow the crisis at the southern border and the impact here, 5 of our local state lawmakers have joined dozens of others asking President Biden for something specific from the federal government: expedited work permits for asylum seekers coming here. The Assembly members sent this letter to the White House saying, quote, "As New York seeks to respond to the recent influx of thousands of asylum seekers, it is imperative that we allow these individuals to work, support their families, and contribute to our economy and local communities." They want the current 180-day waiting period waived, reduced down to 30 days instead, noting that New York is currently short about 5,000 workers in agriculture, another 5,000 openings in the service industry, on top of other worker shortages, as we all know. Today, local state Senator Tim Kennedy agreed with his fellow Democrats who signed that letter.
They are now awaiting a continuation of that process, and they are, in the meantime, looking to go to work. And so I think it's important, where there are opportunities, especially in upstate, where there are communities that are begging for workers, to give these asylum seekers who are in the process of their immigration to an opportunity to succeed here in New York State.
But an assistant DHS secretary said this week that the administration worries granting expedited work permits could incentivize more migrants to come here seeking asylum, and that is something the White House is trying to avoid. Joining me live now to talk bigger picture about all this is Jennifer Rizzo-Choi. She is the executive director of the International Institute of Buffalo. Jennifer, we appreciate you coming in. There are so many questions that people have about all this, and I hope we can clear up some of the confusion. Let me first ask you about the discussion that we had right there. I mean, it's interesting because you see both sides of this, right? You think these migrants who are here and who are going through the process of seeking asylum, you would love to see them be able to work. In many cases, they would love to be able to work. At the same time, you wonder if that wouldn't incentivize others. How do we look at those two things?
Well, I think it's a brilliant move to ask for that, because that would really alleviate the burden. Self-sustainability is so big, and that's really what's hard if someone can't work to provide for themselves because their legal status forbids it. On the other hand, the reason for that 180-day rule to limit from when you apply for asylum to when you can get your work permit, that exists because years ago there was an abuse of the asylum system, frivolous asylum claims. And so that's why that was put into place. But these are different times. This is a different humanitarian crisis. I think it's a great idea to take that, put that on the table and discuss it to try to address the situation today.
We'll see what ends up being the response to that letter in the coming days and weeks. In the meantime, as we're having this discussion, I wonder how you can help us better understand the terms that we're hearing: refugees, asylum seekers, and for people who feel like the folks who are coming here crossed into the country illegally and therefore aren't entitled to the help that the government is giving them.
Well, no person is illegal. So I just want to say that everyone is here seeking safety and freedom. And that's not unlike anybody else in the last 100 years that came here to the country, came to Buffalo. Buffalo's founded on immigrants. When someone comes into our country, there is a humanitarian right to ask for asylum. How they come in may differ. They may have come in on a visa. They may have crossed the border, not at a port of entry. And that's where you end up in the situation where they may have to wait or have to go through a process. But refugees, the classic term you hear is someone who usually gets a status that's awarded to them overseas. You see the Institute helping those people from Congo, Syria, Iraq. They come in with a status. They're allowed to work at entry. They're allowed to get government benefits. There's a difference here with people who are showing up that didn't go through that process. They have to seek asylum, and that means there's a delay between when they enter and when they would get those benefits and permissions.
The International Institute of Buffalo, your organization, is one of 5 in Erie County, right, working together as we expect that migrants will come from New York City here to Western New York. What is the International Institute's role, and what should people know about what you and your workers, and I imagine even volunteers, are going to be doing?
Right. Our mission has always been to welcome refugees and immigrants to our community. We've been doing that for 100 years. We serve people through the programming that we have. A lot of it is federally and state funded, so you have to qualify to be in a program, and so that's where we're going to run into a problem if people don't have an immigration status. They may not be eligible for all those services, but we are certainly looking for donations and volunteers, and we will always help someone that shows up in any way that we can. But I love this creative problem solving here that's going on to try to get people work permits sooner, because that would ease the burden greatly.
What should people know about what is happening currently at the border? We were hearing when Title 42 ended that there would be this huge influx of people crossing the border, many of whom would seek asylum. We sort of didn't see that, right? We saw it in the lead up to Title 42 ending, and since then it hasn't been such a big deal. But then we hear about these numbers in New York City and just how overwhelmed that area is. And do we have any idea about how many people from New York City will be coming here?
So I was actually just in D.C. earlier this week in meetings with USCIS and DHS talking about this, and they had said that like the Title VIII reenactment was kind of a nothing burger. They were bracing for bigger numbers. What they've been doing is trying to streamline people coming in. There's an app you can go to. You can apply through the internet and possibly get a grant to come if you have a family tie. So they're trying to streamline it and discourage people from showing up just right away. But that being said, they're still struggling with the numbers that are already here. And we've seen that in New York City. So I'm not surprised to see that people may choose to leave New York and go to other places. At the conference that I was at, people from Philly and New Jersey are also seeing huge numbers there too. For us, it's just about trying to plan and wait and see who comes here so that way we can try to support them as best as possible.
And when that happens, we'd love to have you back on to talk about that. It's such an important story, and I appreciate you coming in, especially on a Friday before the holiday. Jennifer Rizzo-Choi is the Executive Director of the International Institute. It's good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.